Hello again. Welcome to my channel where we look at life with the broadest lens possible and we dive deep into the most interesting aspects of life. And today the topic is immortality. I want to share this book by Dr. Brian Weiss, Same Soul, Many Bodies. This is one of the sequels to his first book, Many Lives, Many Masters. Now, in the first book, Many Lives, Many Masters, which took him months to get out because he was so nervous to talk about his findings, it all began with a patient, a psychiatric patient named Catherine. Now, up until Catherine came, the furthest that Dr. Brian Weiss was able to regress a patient was the childhood and the womb experience of being in the womb. But suddenly, Catherine jumped into a past life memory and began to describe in vivid detail all her feelings and her sense impressions from that life. And this changed Dr. Weiss's worldview, his view about life. And, just imagine from believing there is one life to understanding there are many lives that are interrelated and that some of our present experiences are caused by the past and that what we do now actually impact our future. That's a paradigm shift of massive proportions. It makes you think about your actions. It makes you take more accountability and be more cautious about the results you're generating in the present. It's an amazing transformation for soul growth. And Dr. Brian Weiss and his scientific community has been able to verify Catherine's experiences, and since then he has helped, at the time of writing this book, over 4,000 people with similar regressions. Now, I remember when I was reading this book over 10 years ago, I felt this intense desire to undergo regression, to see what this is all about. I did order some of his CDs, and I had a lovely flashback or two because he takes you to certain times, 1815 and sudden memory of a beach I love here in Sri Lanka. I still go there. I had an image of me standing on that beach, but there was an ancient sailing ship in the seas in front of me, 1815. And I was actually wearing a blue, very fancy, grand coat and fancy shoes. I didn't go very deep into that life, but that was the flashback I got through Dr. Brian Weiss's CD. But I still wanted a proper, deep regression. And my wish came true when my Angels Reiki Grandmaster Anisis from Switzerland came here and started a crystal shop and started teaching Angels Reiki healing. And she was excellent at taking you into regressions, past life regressions. And there have been great soul growth and healing through those experiences. And one life, a beautiful experience that I remember. Well, not all lives are beautiful. There's challenges, right? But a beautiful aspect of this life was in Avebury, England, where it was a time of the priests and the druids and the priestesses. We were all wearing white and we were using some form of collective thoughts, intentions, focus, maybe even sounds and chanting. But that I'm not too sure. But definitely we were collecting our thoughts and placing the stones in position. So it was a time of special abilities, perhaps many human beings had, but definitely this group of priests and priestesses had mastered in that time. And in 2011, with this same group of Angels Reiki friends and my Grandmaster Anisis, we did go to England and we did get a chance to go to Avebury, and I loved the experience. Some of my Angels Reiki friends, they were hugging the stones, and she said she could download a lot of memories from it. For me, I was just meditating among those monoliths, sending loving kindness. And all the sheep that were grazing there slowly magnetized towards me very gently. It was a very sweet experience for all of us. So now what this story is really about, Victoria, who experiences healing through this amazing regression. So she was a peasant, a very big-made, broad-shouldered male peasant in that life, living in a wooden shack with the wife and the daughter. And Victoria said this is the same daughter she had in Jerusalem that she has in this life. See how we return. But one day, the peasant saw an injured bird with one wing broken, so he knelt down to heal and help the bird, but a Roman soldier kicks him in the back and breaks his vertebrae and injures him for life. And the other soldiers set fire to his wooden shack, killing his wife and daughter. So this man could not work anymore, so he decides to move closer to the Jerusalem temple, and he lives in a lean-to, and he just grows some vegetables around him and lives off that. But at this time, there was news of a very inspiring rabbi. Yes, you guessed it, Jesus. So he was curious. And he went one day to listen to this rabbi. Yes, it was a Sermon on the Mount. But of course, some of the followers tried to shoo him away because they thought he was senile. He wasn't. He was just a broken man. But he hid behind some boulders and he was able to catch Yeshua's eyes. He said that those eyes were full of compassion, like pools of compassion were in his eyes. And Yeshua told him, don't go far away, stay nearby. And that entire day he obeyed and stayed nearby. But later when he went back to his lean-to, he wasn't healed, but he felt hope. And he felt the message had a ring of truth to it. Later, when the rabbi was about to return to Jerusalem, the peasant was filled with anxiety because he had heard about what the Roman soldiers were trying to do to him. And then one day, Yeshua was struggling under the weight of the wooden cross when he saw him again. He could tell that he was thirsty, so he soaked a cloth with water and tried to give it to him. But by that time, Yeshua had already passed on ahead. But he looked back, and his eyes were infinite pools of compassion. And although Yeshua didn't speak, telepathically he said, "It's all right. This was meant to be." And Yeshua walked on. The peasant followed him to Calvary, to the crucifixion. Now Victoria's next memory was of herself as the peasant standing alone in the pouring rain. Yeshua had just passed on and Yeshua was the only one this peasant trusted. And now he was dead. But suddenly he felt what Victoria described as electricity at the top of his head. It shot down his spine, and he became aware that his back was straight. He was no longer hunchback or crippled. He was strong again. "Look," Victoria cried, "in the present life. Look!" And she began to dance, swiveling her hips, completely pain-free. There had been no witnesses 2,000 years back, but on this day, in this hall, the Omega Institute, in front of Dr. Brian Weiss and all the other participants, Victoria was dancing and moving her hips pain-free. And there were so many witnesses of this healing. What a magical experience. So Dr. Brian Weiss wonders, now how will the physicist, the scientist, process this information with her left brain? But that might come later, he thought, because all he could feel right now was Victoria's intense joy. But now you thought that was all? There's another twist to this story. In Dr. Brian Weiss's other book, Only Love is Real, he talks about a brief memory of him as a very wealthy person in Jerusalem who wore rich robes and who had a neatly trimmed salt and pepper beard. And he and a very bright rabbi were studying together, and they became close friends. It is Jesus. And later they part ways. They go into separate directions. But Dr. Brian Weiss in that life had to come to Jerusalem because of family business. And when he did come once, he saw his friend again at that final scene of carrying the cross. And he remembered these pools of compassion. I remember reading it in that book as well. Pools of compassion in his eyes, even though he himself was suffering and dehydrated and in pain. But the look of compassion, everybody notices that. And he remembered that life. But at that time, suddenly Victoria in the present said, "You were there." He says, "Who? You, Dr. Brian Weiss? Where? In Jerusalem." And he's stunned because he was just recalling his own memory. And now Victoria was confirming it. So he asks, "How do you know it was me?" "It's your expression. You have the same expression in your eyes." And then he said, "How do you know? What was I wearing?" Victoria says, "A robe. It was sand-colored with vivid burgundy piping, very elegant. You weren't one of the authorities, not one of Pilate's men. But I knew you had money because of the robe and because of your salt and pepper beard, which was so neatly trimmed, unlike most of the people's. Oh, it was you, Brian, no doubt about it." And they both felt goosebumps as they looked at each other in wonder. Here was a past life being confirmed. Amazing. So there's something extremely remarkable and magical and inexplicable, but that's the right brain. It can process that kind of complex data, unlike the left brain. So that's why we need to use both brains to experience life to the fullest. Isn't that what we want? To experience life to the fullest, to understand it in its multi-faceted ways, not just like a 2D picture, but in all its dimensions. Yes, because that's when we can master life. When our view of it is as broad as it can be, as deep as it can be, and from as high above at the bird's eye level as we can. Because it changes our perspective, our goals, our wishes, our dreams, how we act in the present, because we know there are repercussions, how we heal in the present, because we know there could be past roots. It gives us more options. Now see how Victoria was healed. The operations couldn't help, multiple operations. Radiation didn't help. Morphine was just suppressing the pain, and there was some other third therapy that was mentioned here, which was, what was it? Chemotherapy, radiation, and multiple operations. Yes, so 3 types of therapies. And what healed her was past life regression. I believe when you bring a memory up, it's like the bubbles in the water. You can see how the bubbles rise up and burst at the top. So when this memory rises up from the deep subconscious, where it has got embedded because of the intensity of that emotion, when you recall it under this hypnotic state, the power of it just dissipates like a bubble that comes to the top and dissipates, which is really good news, isn't it? Of course, in this channel, we are going to discuss not only past life regression, but in a future video, I'm going to discuss the Buddha's take on past life, how he accessed them, how he tried to go to the very first life, but discovered the cyclical nature of it. And his whole mission was to end the round of rebirths, because the ending, the state of nirvana, is excellent. It's a deathless state. I will take you through the Buddha's words on that aspect. Of course, while we are in this round of rebirths, if you prefer to go into better lives, for example in heavenly states, of course, then there are so many teachers, wonderful, amazing, beautiful teachers, like the very holy rabbi that we just talked about, who will help you if you listen to them and follow their guidance to the letter. Yes, you can reach your heavenly states. And that's the beauty of it. But if some of you want to actually kind of stop the world and let me off, if you like that, and transcend the round of births into the highest bliss of nirvana, there is a way that has been mapped out, and we will talk about it in another video. Until then, have a fantastic life and make the right goals and right dreams so that you only reach happiness. Thank you for watching, and subscribe so that you will not miss our other videos. And if you resonated with this video, make sure to give a thumbs up so that others like you could find this content, and it'll bless their lives as well. Besides, I like to know how you felt about it as well, so it means a lot to me as well. See you soon.